Welcome to this Midfix podcast. I'd like to welcome Tim Brown from ZipClip.
Hi Steve, thanks
Tim,
for inviting us.
You're welcome. Before we get into the subject, just a quick intro to yourself, Tim. You've done a couple of these podcasts before for us, but for anybody new listening, a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for 43 years, started off on the tools, went through engineering with one or two contractors and moved into sales, and predominantly the last 25, 30 years have been with cable management companies, various different organisations, and then 2.5 years ago I joined ZipClip as specification manager.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I think part of your experience with cable management is going to be quite handy, because I've got a relatively simple question for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Right.
And it's to do with fire.
Okay.
It's not to do with passive fire protection, so we're not talking fire stop. We're not talking 18th edition either.
No.
The question as a distributor we often get asked for is that solution you just provided us, what's the fire rating? To this day, and we've been asked that question numerous times, I don't actually understand the question. So could you just talk me through it?
Well,
what's the fire rating?
You're absolutely right. It tends to be one of those questions that people know they've got to ask, but they're not always ready for the answer that they get back. And that's the challenge. So in terms of fire rating, for cable management and support systems, there's no harmonised standard. So on that basis, there's no consistent testing method for cable management systems or support bracketry. So it creates a problem, and by historical use, it's just been there. It just sits there and does a job. But obviously, as incidents have occurred, and Grenfell obviously being one of the situations that brought fire testing and fire rated products to the fore, people have started asking far more regularly about cable management systems being fire rated.
But see, I see, forgive me for my lack of knowledge, but surely there's a standard for that. There's the DIN standard for
DIN 4102-12.
Yeah. Isn't that for containment?
No, it's a German cable test standard.
Right, so not for the containment.
Not for containment, but what's happened over the years is that companies that supply, particularly basket, have been used in supporting cables in this fire test. So by the very fact that their product's been in the test furnace for 2 hours, they're using that evidence to say our product will last 2 hours. And if you've got photographic evidence, you can't argue with it that the product's still there. But it's a cable test. It's a test to see how the cables perform in that environment.
I see.
Not how the cable basket performs. But because there's no harmonised standard for testing, the manufacturers are obviously using the information gleaned as a basis to say, well, because there is no standard, we're using this to indicate that our product will perform in the event of a fire.
Okay then, so that's a German standard for cable then. What, bringing it back to the UK, what about BS 476? What does that cover?
Well, 476 is a standard for construction products, and these are essentially the products that are preventing the spread of fire throughout a building. So, gyprock, core building materials. There's a number of different sections within 476. There's one for ductwork, which is section 24. A lot of people test to section 20, but it's because the BS 476 fire curve is classed as the norm. So it takes 80 minutes to get to 1,000 degrees, and most fire tests are done for a 2-hour period.
Oh, so that the BS 476 is just a temperature time curve?
It's a temperature time curve, yeah.
Okay.
And again, because there's no harmonised standard, it tends to be the one that manufacturers who want to subject their product to some sort of fire testing tend to refer to. And the other statement that people make in relation to this is our product's 1,000 degree 2-hour tested. And as I've just said, if you look at 476 fire curve, the fire curve doesn't get to 1,000 degrees till around 80 to 85 minutes.
Yeah.
So on that basis, you've got 35, 40 minutes where the fire's at 1,000 degree. So that statement about ours is 1,000 degree 2 hour tested, but it's been in a furnace for 2 hours that eventually reaches a temperature of 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a different response.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to test it at 1,000 degrees for 2 hours, you would need to extend a 2 hour test.
Yeah.
To do that.
So much longer.
Absolutely.
Well, it is a problem, and it's a question we get asked, I won't quite say daily, but it is certainly a weekly question. Can you provide us with the fire performance data for channel, rod, you name it? The area that we can quite easily is with ETA approved anchors, because with an ETA approved anchor you have some fire performance data.
Absolutely.
However, what the customer doesn't normally expect to see is that after a normal recommended load at ambient temperature, if we take that recommended load at R120, so after 2 hours, it is nowhere near the load factor that they require for the actual application.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a shock factor there as well. They don't actually understand the difference with that temperature time curve, the effect that has actually on the product.
Performance.
Yeah,
no,
performance of the product.
That's absolutely right. And I think this is, again, one of the areas where people publish tests that they've done for fire testing their products. Mm-hmm. It's important to look at the information they put. Is it based on the ambient temperature, or is it based on the performance of the product at the end of the test?
Yeah.
Because as you said, Steve, the performance of the product could be dramatically different.
Drastically different. Yeah.
And the key is, fair play to people who do the testing. I mean, I was involved in some fire testing and cable management a few years ago. First thing is, it's a really expensive process.
Yes.
To fill a furnace is one day to fill it.
Yeah.
It's another day for the test, and then it's a third day to let the furnace cool down and then remove the product. So it's a huge financial and personnel cost that you're undertaking. And when I was involved in that testing, it was only so that there was visible evidence to go out to specifiers and consultants and say, well, this is the test that was carried out, and there's photographic evidence of what the product looked like at the end of a 2 hour test where it had reached temperatures of 1,000 degrees. So we're still basing it on the 476 fire curve, but you can only give the result of your test. You can't say in compliance to that standard, because there isn't one.
Yeah. So is there something then to be taken from how they test sort of passive fire stop products? They're tested as per application. So for every one product, there'll be numerous number of tests in different applications, different penetration makeups, different suspension makeups. If we're to do that in the M&E industry, there are that many variables. Where do we stop testing? But then taking it back a step, there's no point carrying one test out and then extrapolating the information from that one test. Where's the happy medium?
Well, most people look at testing processes. If you take cable tray, the smallest size and then the largest size. So we've tested the outer limits, and then on the basis of the smallest and the largest performing, we can be fairly confident that everything in the middle is going to perform accordingly.
So testing worst case then.
Absolutely. But what you can never do is you can never account for the unforeseen. Because there's not a standard, there's not a formulated test process to follow. Again, people are going to interpret, add, maybe do the test in such a way so that it enhances the performance of their product.
So it's bias.
Or even the terminology they use in it. We mention a lot in the industry. If you talk about a 90-degree bend, most people will visualize maybe a gusset bend, but could it be slow radius? Could it be inside 90-degree bend? Could it be a square? So it's really important to be clear and definitive with the terminology, because otherwise, if you'll excuse the pun, you're just adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah. It is a major issue, and I said it's a question we're asked all the time. And then, can you give me some hope? Is the industry doing anything about it? Is there any bodies that are trying to gain some momentum looking at harmonised standards?
Well, obviously, organisations like BEMA with the Cable Management Committee are fully aware of the issue. And I've sat on the working groups at BEMA for a number of years, and they're acutely aware of the shortfall. But you could argue, why has this never been pushed forward before this? Because Most of the shopping malls you go to, most of the exhibition centres you go to, you've got tons and tons of steelwork and containment and cabling and water above your head.
Yeah.
And it's never been, there's never deemed to be the need for it to be addressed.
I just think, unfortunately, now people are aware of the consequences of.
I think
should something go wrong?
It's a litigious society that we're becoming a part of, and everyone needs full accountability, and I'm in complete support of that.
That's correct, yeah.
You know, I think it's sad that at this stage we don't have that test. Testing and raising a standard takes time. It's not a quick process, but I would suggest that organisations like BEMA are starting. They're looking at the problems, and you know, at the end of the day, they've got the people round the table, they've got the manufacturers round the table that know it needs to be addressed, and so you know, I believe ultimately it will be.
So then, before that happens, then what would a responsible contractor now? What's best practice for them? What are the questions they should be asking from the products that they're installing?
Well, I think you know, if they're being asked what is the fire rating of the product, first thing you've got to do is go to the manufacturer, talk to their technical department, and even if they've done independent testing that's not to a harmonised standard, if they've got evidence to say and show that that product's been subject to 476 curve for a period of time, then to see that evidence and understand the performance of the product during all the phases of that test, and as you said earlier, does the product at the end of the test still have the performance capability to support everything securely? What more can they do?
Okay, so it's a little bit like other subjects that we've discussed in the past then. If it's minimising the risk, and it's collating the evidence of your due diligence.
Absolutely.
So you've done your bit, you've looked into it, you've asked the questions, you've gone to the manufacturer, you've got the technical subs, I'm satisfied with the answer, have that all in the sort of golden thread of information for your install.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's no way of eliminating the risk, but we can reduce it as much as possible.
That's right. You can provide an increase in confidence in the performance of the product by bringing that sort of information together. And like I always say in these podcasts, Steve, no substitute for early engagement with this question.
Yeah, correct. And please stop coming up with what's the fire rating, because there is no such thing.
There is no harmonised standard for it.
Okay.
And there won't be any time soon. As I said, these things take quite a considerable time to develop and bring through to a conclusion. But I'd be confident that the industry will have that within the next few years.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. It is I was going to say a hot topic. I'm sure it is, but
certainly is.
We could talk about it for quite a while, but we're going to keep this short and sweet and just address the salient points. So thanks for your time, Tim.
Pleasure. Thanks for asking me, Steve.
Thank you.